it's taken way longer than I expected, but I am finally about ready to move forward with my short called Listen. I actually picked this project up a couple of months ago, and it was my effort to produce something, just anything that would be of value. In other words, a story that I really was interested in caring about, and a character that I was interested in caring about, and but do it in a way that had as few obstacles of getting done as possible. Because my big hurdle now is getting things together to move projects forward, and I just wanted to get a project out. So that meant doing it basically entirely by myself in terms of production. In post-production, I got some help with Deadhead Productions and the folks over there to help me with quality assurance and checking to make sure that the project was worthwhile and giving me some notes. And I also worked with Kathleen Kaufman, my wife, on the story to make sure that it was a good buttoned-up solid story. But other than that, it was all me. And I originally produced it, and it was originally going to be a series. I wanted to do 6 long episodes as a web series, and so I kind of did the raw footage that way. And when I compiled it all, I realized it was just too much, and I don't know that it was interesting enough. Because it was a lot of rambling, and a lot of whole sections that I didn't even want. So I decided to cut it shorter and compile it all into one thing. And my original cut was an hour and a half, and it was fine. It just seemed so long, and I wasn't sure, how much of it needed to be in there in order to keep the story as punchy as I wanted it to be. So, and remember, it's just one person, one camera. So I was concerned about, is it just too much? People not going to want to sit through this. Is it like monologuing or a Zoom meeting forever? So I cut it back to about an hour, and I liked that version much better. And I started thinking of it in terms of a short feature. But, an hour isn't all that long to have to look at just one person in one situation, basically one location, one camera, the whole thing. And I kind of went through it, and I was like, well, you know what? A lot of this could be tightened. So I went through and tightened it, and it got down to like 55 minutes. And I was like, okay, well, that's it. It'll be a short feature. And then I started thinking about what am I going to do in terms of distribution? Because the whole thing, I mean, it's not cinematic, so I was a little unsure about the channels that I wanted to put it out on. Does it really lend itself to a screening, for example? And so I looked at some of the outputs of the footage, and it was, I think the quality was high enough because of the technology that I'm using to screen. And I even did some outputs on the projector formats and tested them to make sure they would work. And I was like, actually, this could work. So my initial thinking was, why don't I do a fundraiser for the project, but focus on maybe doing a screening event? And there's this part of me that's like, you know what? This all feels very self-indulgent. I mean, I don't really want this to be a big me show, even though I am the maker, I am the actor. It is mostly me. But it was starting to feel a little self-indulgent. And I was looking at, okay, well, let's say I do a screening and I fundraise for that. What next? Well, obviously film festivals. So I started looking at film festivals, and I was like, you know what? I think that this will fit the category of film that these festivals are looking for. In more ways than one, and certain festivals more than others, but this isn't exactly what they had in mind. I mean, when I say that this is a found footage horror, really what it is a psychological exploration through a scientist's journaling. And that is different. I mean, it's not like, I think somebody in the comments said, well, it sounds a little bit like Blair Witch, and it's not at all like Blair Witch. It can even carry a torch to Blair Witch, and I don't mean to diminish what I'm working on. I'm just saying it's just a completely different thing. and I'm not sure that it's the right fodder for film festivals. So I kind of held off a little bit, not exactly sure what to do. I even built a fundraising page, and that's on pause because I'm not sure I'm prepared to fundraise for this. Again, it feels very self-indulgent. And so I looked at it a little closer, and I was thinking, you know what, it could be tightened even more. So I went through another pass and brought it down to 38 minutes, which for a short is still long, but it's not a feature. And I feel way more comfortable about it now. It feels way less self-indulgent. It's like, okay, it's a manageable, not bite-sized, but it's a manageable project that isn't necessarily for theatrical release, although it could potentially, if I were to raise money, I could do a screening maybe. This is a short. And that actually better aligns with my intention on the project, was that just to get moving, to get rolling, to have a first project. And I'm not trying to make a feature. I have another thing I'm working on that's going to be a feature. But this is really just, I need to get going. I need something that I care about out there that I can reference. And then both as a filmmaker and as an actor. And this fits both. So I'm much more happy with the cut at 40 minutes, 38 minutes. I just watched it this morning on the big screen. I had some more nips and tucks. I had to be careful that I don't nip and tuck to death, because I know that I could do that. But I was interrupted. I have got to remember to turn on Do Not Disturb if I'm going to use my phone to record. Anyway, and the shorter format I'm much more comfortable with. Better fits my intent with the project. And it's also much better as a project after watching it. Great. I think I'm going to be self-conscious about it, but it definitely feels less self-indulgent. So I think it's good. I really do. There's some good moments in there. It's strong. I'm happy with it. So next up, I'm going to sit on it for a bit so I can get some distance, and then I'm going to screen it with just some people that I trust and know to see if that needs any final changes or tightening, or there's a lot of special effects that might need addressing, music and sound editing and that kind of stuff. So so that's what I'm going to do now. If you're interested in seeing it at this stage, let me know. I'll send it to you. But I think what's next, and I might do this as soon as next week. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and fundraise, but for private screenings, so that people who will back the project will then be able to screen it, and that is going to be a very modest amount of money, just to help pay for the project and my time and groceries basically. So I think I will do that for a modest amount, and so we're looking at a week or two before I get it out in that way. But then after that, it's going to go to film festivals, and I have a much broader range to choose from now that it's a short, and I'll just do the film festival circuit for the foreseeable future. I think depending on the traction, in about 4 or 5 months, I'll go ahead and distribute it through online, probably Film Hub, but other channels to get it on Tubi, and then eventually it'll go on YouTube and be accessible that way. So I think we're reaching the end of production finally, and well, post-production rather, on Listen. And if you would like to see it, let me know. I'll get you a copy. Thank you.